Good afternoon, and it is 1 o'clock in the afternoon as I'm going live here on this Monday afternoon. So whether you are joining me live or whether you are joining me on catch up, hello, lovely to see you. And I'm going to come in and do a bit of crafting. My Monday morning slot that I used to do, I can no longer do because I'm involved in another in a little preschool group at the moment that I'm running on a Monday morning. So yeah, so I'm not able to come in first thing on a Monday. So it's been sort of a bit hit and miss, but I thought, well, let's try Monday lunchtime. So here we are at 1 o'clock on a Monday lunchtime, and we're going to do a little bit of crafting. So let me just bring up a few of my slides. So this is me. Do pop on and say hello if you're joining us live, or even if you are joining us on catch up. But this is me, Love-a-Duckie.co.uk. That's my website where you'll find blog posts and links to shops and downloads and all of those sorts of things, classes and events, all of those things you'll find over there on my website. You'll be able to, while you're on my website, be able to join up for newsletters and those sorts of things. You'll also be able to, if you go to request a catalogue, request a catalogue. If you've not yet got one of our September to December mini catalogues, do let me know. And indeed, if you haven't got our annual catalogue, I'll happily send you one of those as well if you're here in the UK. Um, We've got some classes that are coming up. If I just whiz through those, these are the in-person classes, but lots of these are also available as in the post options. So we've got our Saturday Stampers on the 7th of October, which is actually also World Card Making Day. So do either come and join me in person, or there's details in a minute of being able to come and enjoy a Stamping Up online event, or indeed do both. The monthly card club for October is going to be using the Berry Christmas Suite. So we create 5 little cards in there. We've got a technique class this upcoming Friday, and we're going to be making a little mini album for that one using these beautiful countryside papers. So looking forward to that one on Friday. And moving forward, we've got a mega stamper stack in October. So normally in stamper stack, we make 6 cards, 2 each of 3 designs. But for the Christmas mega stamper stack, we're going to make, say that with your teeth in, we're going to make 5 each of 2 designs. So that's coming up. And beginning of November, we'll see the retreat. So you've got an in-person event there. Still can squeeze a couple of people in if you'd like to come and join us for the retreat. Or if you would like a retreat in a box option, that is also available. Also in October, we have got Stamp Camp coming up using the stunning Winter Meadow suite that we were playing with on Friday. So do come and join us with that. You buy the suite from myself or another participating demonstrator, and you get to join in with the Facebook group and all of the videos and tutorials and things you get as a result of that. If you have already got the suite but would still like to join in, you just need to buy um, products of equivalent amount from myself or a other participating demonstrator, and we will happily add you in so that you can create things with your Winter Meadow suite. Other things that are happening at the moment, you can register to take part in this virtual card making event for World Card Making Day. So this is an event that Stamping Up themselves are putting on, and everybody is invited to attend. And you will be able to watch that on catch up. So if you are coming to my in-person event on the day, no reason why you can't sign up for this as well and do both. We like doing the options to do both, don't we? And one final thing is to check out all the online exclusive products, including some really lovely special release DSP that is listed there at the moment. And we are going to be playing with some of that today. So there's a whistle stop tour through all of the news for today. But let's bring in my downward facing camera and let's see what we're going to have a bit of a play with today. So here we have the mini catalogue in front of me. Mine is starting to look lovely. It has been opened and closed many times. And what we're going to be playing with today is the St. Nicholas bundle. This is beautifully vintage, unashamedly vintage Christmas. You've got these two St. Nicholas images, sort of really Victorian Christmas card looking. You've got that old-fashioned post box just there, big sack of toys and some treats up here. You've got some sort of punch by the look of it, and a gingerbread man and a candy cane. Um, a simple letter sent to say, thinking of you this Christmas. That's rather lovely, isn't it? That would be quite nice to pop onto envelopes, wouldn't it? And you've got this with joy, peace, and love, and then you've got the may the Christmas season fill your home, and many merry thoughts and wishes at the top there. Um, so this one here, you have got one stamp with multiple images on, and you can die cut them all into separate little images, and the dies that go with it, you've got some extra fun things in, like all these little stockings that you can see on this sample just here are die cut using a die. You've got where it'll cut the bricks to give you this sort of background image, which is rather lovely. You've got your chimneys and your snowy bits to go on top of your chimney. So lots of lovely little dies and things in there. So as well as cutting out those stamped images, we have lots of little extra dies as well. Here they are in person. Here's the stamp set, and here are all of those dies. It's rather like this pattern just here that is going to be cut into a piece of card, so that won't cut that pattern out, it will cut it in. You can always tell that by where the raised edges are on a die. Here's your snowy top to your chimneys. You've got a fireplace here with the flames, and lots of a little holly wreath, some holly leaves, a little row of berries. You've got your bricks just here that you can cut out of a piece of card to give that sort of wall type effect. So some really nice little dies in there. So a great little bundle. Now the paper that I've got here is one of those papers that is in the online exclusives. So it is called Traditions of Saint Nick. And as you can see, you've got really traditional sort of Christmassy colours. This one is just sort of like living rooms with the roaring fire and the wreath above the fire and the Christmas tree. Some really lovely damask type patterns. Got a whole load of little stockings just there. Again, these would make really nice wallpapers, but really nice generic patterns that, you know, aren't necessarily just for Christmas. Lovely red one just here. And then you've got these Saint Nick images on here, two of them, this one and this one. You will die cut with the dies that you've got. This one you would need to fussy cut him if you would like him cut out. Here's all your punches and gingerbread men, cookies, candy canes, sweets, and another really lovely damask. You've got some holly berries there, some holly leaves there, do beg your pardon, and a grey sort of colours. Another damask there, that's the back of this one. Here's one in brown, is that copper clay? Yes, thought it was. So that's in copper clay. You've got all the post boxes there. I think we've looked at these ones. I think we're going round into the second lot of paper. So some really traditional Father Christmas type images there that are just really lovely. They we do love those. Right, so what are we going to create with these gorgeous papers, stamps and dies? Well, obviously we're going to go for a fairly traditional Christmas card look. I would imagine that these papers are going to lead us down that way. I've seen a colour challenge today that was what actually prompted me to pick this set up. So this colour challenge uses black early espresso, cherry cobbler, and gold foil. Now here it's being used with a whole lot of books, but I did look at that and thought, that colour challenge would work quite nicely with our St Nicholas images. So I have grabbed some colour card. So we've got some cherry cobbler, some early espresso, and we have got some basic black just there. And we've also got some gold foil. Why would you not want a little bit of gold foil in there? So those are the colours that are suggested, and we're going to have a bit of a play with those. Now I thought that we'd perhaps do a bit of watercolouring with our St Nicholas image, and I quite like this cherry cobbler pattern here, so I think we'll perhaps use a bit of that as well. Pop the rest of the papers to one side. Just playing around with colour to decide which way we want. But do we want, I think we might have an early espresso matte with some of this paper on a cherry cobbler card base to start with. So let's start, make that our starting point. So I'm going to take my piece of cherry cobbler card, and as always I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to score it in half. So whether you're using A4 or letter size, you basically want to cut your piece of card in half and score it in half to make a standard card base. And then I'm going to make a mat, so I'm going to make this 14.4 by 10. If you're in Imperial land, that would be 5¼ inches by 4 inches to fit your card base, because the card bases when you're using letter size cardstock are completely different than the card bases you get in metric. So if you are looking at sort of transatlantic instructions, tutorials, your card bases will differ, and what will fit in your standard envelopes will differ slightly, so always look out for that. Lots of demonstrators these days do give you both. I'm going to take some of this paper and I'm going to cut a 9½ centimetre strip with a 3¾ inch strip. If you're using letter size cardstock, I'm going to cut mine at 13.9. The letter size you'd want 5 inches. So those are our basic mats. We're going to have for our card base with that lovely roaring fire and Christmas tree in the background there. Nice wingback chair, the rocking horse in there. We have of course got a stamp set that's got a rocking horse in this year. And I'm going to take the image. You can tell how often I've used the stamps. I've not even popped them out yet. I'm going to use the image of St Nicholas carrying the Christmas tree. And we'll peel the backing of our sticky label and the backing off of our stamp. Let's line those up. Peel that off. And we're going to come in with our stamp. Now I'm going to watercolour this. So we're going to need some of our Fluid 100 watercolour paper, which comes in a pack like this. This isn't a full pack. This one's had paper taken out of it, but you get 10 sheets of this lovely watercolour paper in our pack. To pop that onto a block. Just move these bits out of the way. I'm going to bring in my Stays On ink. Now, I haven't used my Stays On ink for a little while, so what I did do before I hit live was I have re-inked my pad. Now, Stays On is a solvent-based ink. It does, you need to be make sure that you always put your lid on, because otherwise it evaporates and dries out very quickly. So because I haven't used it in a while, I thought it would be best to re-ink it before I went in and stamped my image. A good press. Helen is wonderful, Helen is wonderful, Helen is wonderful. Brilliant. Okay, so there we have our Saint Nick image, and he is really, really detailed. You've got the tree, you've got the little toys in his sack, there's a teddy bear there, there's a drum, there's a little wrapped parcel. He's got his sack on his back, he's got his little bag over his shoulder. I don't know whether that contains his who's been naughty and who's been nice list, possibly. Yeah, and you've got sort of his coat and his boots. So a really nice detailed image. Let's bring in my narrowest water brush. I'm going to give that a bit of I've got some water here, good slosh about in some water, just in case it's still got some colour left on it. And I'm very aware that I haven't, as I said, used these for a little while, and they have been standing with water in, which isn't the best thing to do, because they do then sometimes get a little bit gunged up, so you go to squeeze them and the water doesn't come out. But if that happens, just fill it, or put your brush bit and unscrew it and put this bottom piece here, put it in some white vinegar to soak, and then that will normally get it working again. In the meantime, I have got some water here just so that I can use that. Right, some cherry cobbler ink. Let's give this pad a really good squeeze, and then we have a nice palette of cherry cobbler ink in there. I'm going to add some of this water too, and just water that down a little bit. I'm going to paint his coat. Now he has his nice white fur trim going all around the outside. Bring it in down here. So as I say, I've got the narrowest brush here. The brushes come in 3 sizes. You get a narrow one, a medium one, and then a really nice big fat one, which is great for doing watercolor wash backgrounds. Let's bring that in down there. And then his coat on the other side. This bit just here is going to be the fur trim. I'm going to bring it down here. I'm going to bring in a bit more and add a bit more colour where there's these sort of creased shading lines. And I can let it dry and come over it again in a minute if I want to. So there's, oh, no, his hat. Let's not forget his hat. So of course, traditionally, Father Christmas wasn't always painted with a red coat. He was far more likely to be green. Originally, it was the Coca-Cola advertising, other cola drinks are available, that brought in this predominantly red coat for Father Christmas. He had a far more varied wardrobe back in the day. I will leave that like that for now. I need some green for that tree. So let's bring in some shaded spruce. Add in some water to that. And we'll add some colour to this tree. Add in a little bit of base colour there, which will probably come back in later. And add in a bit more shading on that. We've got some early espresso here. And let's add some water to that, and I think we'll do these. I can only see one of those. The other one is hidden behind his coat. I'm going to bring in a little bit more water and lighten this down a bit more, and we'll use this to do his sack. And also I think his bag. I'm going to pick up some slightly darker. We'll just come in and here let's bring in a bit more sort of shading with a slightly darker colour. I'm going to grab just here a bit of a palette. I'm going to grab some of this red. And I'm going to grab a little bit of brown. A bit more red. So I've got a bit of cherry cobbler and a bit of early espresso mixed here. Use this with this tunic just to give it a slightly different colour, different shade underneath there. Let's come in with this cherry cobbler again. And just where there's these sort of creases, we'll add in a little bit more shading there. Also going to come in very red water now. Let's clean that up. We come in with some more of this shaded spruce. And I'm just going to sort of dot some colour over this tree, just to give it a little bit of tree-like texture rather than flat green. Make it look a little bit more bristly. Now we don't have black in our classic ink pad range. I'm going to take a little bit of Memento ink. Let's throw that onto a block just here to make myself up a bit of a palette. And we'll use that for these boots. These boots were made for walking. And that's just what they'll do. Obviously, the more colour you add, the darker they get. Now we have got all of this. Oh, gloves. Let's clean that up. But we could do with some. I think we'll go black gloves as well. Could we have a little bit more ink, please? Just to add a bit more colour into those gloves. It's looking rather splendid. Now, I think I'll come in with some petal pink. I've already got some petal pink ink. Don't want this to be particularly dark. Add some colour to his face. And now we have all this trim. So we have this fur. A basic grey watercolour pencil here. Just going to come round the edge of this trim slightly. I want to leave it predominantly white. But we just need it to help it to pop a little bit. So just adding a bit of grey or very pale blue around the edge will hopefully just help that to pop a little, particularly like here where you've got the trim coming up against the beard and it's all sort of moulding into one. Around his hat. And the song in my head pops up all around my hat. I shall wear the green ribbon, but he's not wearing a green ribbon round his hat. Just add And just adding in this bit extra shading, a bit more detail, and it just help it to pop a little bit. We might come in a minute with a colour round the edge. I'll use my pen as well to pencil to help bring in those straps on that bag. Our little toys in the background. What shall we have? Got some Azure Afternoon here. Perhaps some blue drum. Get a bit of yellow in a minute. Pecan pie for our bear. Bring in a bit of what we've got here, Daffodil Delight, our drum. And we've got a couple of presents. Let's have a poppy parade one in the background here. Perhaps blueberry bushel for this other one. Bring in a bit of poppy parade for that bow. Now, where's this an espresso, because we've got sort of the sack coming around here. And there's a bit of a bow just up here. So there he is. All coloured up. Just going to bring in a bit of water just around the edge here. Laying down some water first, and then with some pool party, I think. And we're just coming in around the edge here. with some pool party. Let's come in around the other side just with some water. So putting water down first means that when you add your colour in, it's going to move around a little bit better because it's going into the colour is adding into that water that you've already put down, and it will sort of naturally sort of blend in. I'm not at this first point coming in too close to the edge. Just take a little bit of this early espresso and just put a bit of shadow under his feet. Just ground him a little bit. Right, so we've got some early espresso in there. We've got some cherry cobbler in there. We've added in other colours, obviously for trees. We've got some memento, some black in there. Could come in with a black watercolour pencil and just add in a bit more detail on these the gloves, and then come on over the top and add in a bit more shading and depth of colour there. Now comes the question, do we die cut him? We have come round the edge, it will die cut some of that edge, or do we cut him out as he is? I actually quite like that bit around the edge, so I think we will work with him as he is. Wondering about the, oh, that one's too small. One perhaps comes in a little bit. Too close. Have a look at our deckled rectangles. Needs to be bigger than you. You would work height-wise rather nicely. Let's have a little play and see if we can use our deckled rectangle to cut him out, but then cut him a little narrower eventually. So let's bring in some low tack tape. Just put it onto my jeans and things just to take a little bit of tacky off of there. We'll bring that in about there. He is rather lovely. He really comes to life when you add some colour in. So obviously we've used watercolour, a bit of watercolour pencil in there as well. You could colour him all with watercolour pencils. You could use some of your stamping blends. Let's just take this off, and let's see if we can bring it in a little bit. See what happens. Now, unlike some dies, it's obviously deckled, so it isn't a uniform edge. We might end up doing a little bit of trimming on the corners, we'll see. For any square or rectangle dies, you can normally have a bit of a play. Perfect. He's beautifully deckled, and we've just made him much narrower strip. There we have our watercoloured Father Christmas that's going to sit on there. Looking for my ruler to see how tall he is. So that's about 10 centimetres by 5.2. I'm going to cut myself a bit of foil. I do apologise. Goodness me, knocking you about. I'm bringing up things about paper, but while that is there, don't forget that that paper came from those online exclusives. One of the sets that is in there. Now, I'm just wondering, this is rather interesting die just here, which will cut patterns out of our foil. What's that? It's about 3 centimetres wide. So this is 10 centimetres, and I'm going to cut a strip that's about 8.5 centimetres wide. This gold foil, and then I'm going to die cut this pattern from one edge. Let's have a look what that does. There you are. Picked up the wrong stack of mats. Is this going to go on there? Just about. It's about 8.8 centimetres, I think, width-wise. This little mini machine. Let's run that through there. And then let's bring it back for good measure. Take that off. And we'll pop all these little bits out of there. They're popping out quite easily, so I've not even had to dig out my pokey tool. Okay, St Nick, where have you gone? Now got my lovely paper and everything else. I've lost my St Nick. Can't have gone far, surely. Dear, oh dear. Don't you love it when you're doing something like this and doing a live, and as if by magic, things just disappear. Somewhere we have a beautifully painted St Nick who has just disappeared from the face of the earth. Not there. There. I can see you hiding at the back there. Oh my goodness me. Let's bring in more. I think a bit of cherry cobbler. It's going to cut a bit. It is 3.5 centimeters wide, because that is wider than that die cut, because we measured that at 3, and I'm going to make it by 10. I'm going to add that in underneath there. And this was 8.5 by 10.5. I'm going to take a bit of early espresso. I think, yeah. And I'm going to make this 9 by 11. Let's have a look. Okay, building that up. Then we'll want some sort of sentiment on there too. Might just come in with this with merry thoughts and wishes. Let's find our little pop that on there. Bring in a block. Have a little strip of paper. And bring in our memento. up. And I will snip these round. And snip those round. And I think we'll back that onto some red card as well. Let's bring in some glue. Just like that. And we'll snip down. This is where I need my bigger scissors. They're not on my desk. They've gone wandering. Right, let's stick all this together and build this up. So we'll have some nick on there. Let's just put a little bit of glue around our cutout piece and add in our cherry cobbler panel behind. And then add in that whole panel onto this early espresso panel. And there's our top piece. Let's build up this bottom piece. So we've got our paper, our early espresso mat. We'll add that to our card base. Wow, with merry thoughts and wishes there. Bring on some ribbon. So this lovely gold ribbon here is also part of a online exclusive pack. I'm going to wrap that round here. Bring in some tape and tape that to the back. And likewise with this piece. Snip that off. Where's my other pair of scissors? Put some dimensionals on the back of that and raise it up. These odd bits in the middle. Come off. There we go. Add that to the top here. Let's have some mini dimensionals on the back of here. And put that on the bottom. A bit of a dig through the embellishments. Some little gold festive pearls here, quite nice. Let's add just a few of those onto this top. And then tweak this and let's make a little bow on there. That would be quite cute, wouldn't it? So let's bring in a glue dot for that. Now we'll need to do an insert for this card because we've used a cherry cobbler base on it. Twist that around a little bit so that's not interfering with that sentiment. We can just add a little bit, sort of a sack of toys or something to an insert. Let's do that. Stick the label on later. Let's find a piece of basic white. Make ourselves an insert. And I think we'll go cherry cobbler as we've got a cherry cobbler card base. And we'll just ink up that. Stamp ourselves a little stack of toys the inside. And we can do similar for our envelope. So there is our cherry cobbler early espresso black plus a few more colours. Saint Nick that will fit nicely with that colour challenge. And I thought we'll do a really quick and easy card and we'll just have a bit of a play with some of these papers. So as you say, we have got one paper that we can actually die cut our Saint Nick from. So I think let me just take my scissors and we'll come around here and we'll die cut him. rather love the red. Which one's got the red background on? This one. Well, it is actually this paper. I rather love that red paper in the background there. And let's have a little banner of these holly. This holly might come in with another colour paper in a minute. Let's add a trim up. So let's just check. Yes, I'm going to say it's mossy meadow in the background there. So I'm going to cut myself a little. 9.5 centimetre, not 9.5 inch, 9.5 centimetres by 13.9 centimetre piece of paper. I grab some mossy meadow. Perfect. Let's cut this 14.4 by 10. And bring in the holly paper. And I think it's directional particularly. So I'm going to cut a piece of this. Again, is 9.5. And let's go. Let's go 5.5. Like a barrier across there. What have I done with my Father Christmas? Here he is, my Saint Nick. I'm just going to bring in. I've got thinking about in my watercolour pencils. I've got some cherry cobbler there. I don't actually have any mossy meadow, but I do have old olive. I'm going to come in and just add in a bit of colour on these holly leaves, because, well, why not? So nothing very fancy or very elaborate. The printing actually gives sort of the shading underneath. And this one. And this one. And let's move over to our cherry cobbler one. And again, just softly, not pressing very hard at all. Just coming in with some colour. And this one. And this one. So there we go. That's taken that from that to that. Just adds in that bit more depth of colour there. I'm going to die cut him. When I find the die. That one, I believe. So that will nice and easily give us a colourful Saint Nick without having done any colouring at all. And we'll have with joy, peace and love, I think, on this one. Bring in a long block. Some mossy meadow ink, I think. And a strip of white. Wondering whether that wants to be real red, I think, rather than cherry cobbler. Again, I'm going to cut this. Joy, peace and love. Let's stick those on to our red card. With joy. Ooh, that's it. Yeah, I'm here. Peace. And love. with joy. Peace and love. Lovely. Right. Let's stick these together. Add a scrummy red paper. I do like this pattern on here, this damask pattern. Onto our mossy meadow. Grab the basic white card base. We'll put him onto white. And we'll add our coloured strip of holly leaves. And I'm going to raise him up now because he is DSP, he is paper. You do need to be especially generous with your foam pads. I should have found some big ones really, but never mind, small ones were to hand. You do need to make sure he's got a good solid base underneath of him. Got sticky fingers now. It could have actually gone that I didn't take the backs off of all of these, because even just the fact that they're underneath there will help to keep him upright. I'm going to use glue underneath these, I think. Ooh. I won't raise these up, I'll have these flat underneath. Joy. Peace. And love. And let's have a look. What shall we have? Which will come in? Yeah, let's come in with some of these gold sequins. And we'll have a small one down there. How lovely is he? So there we go. We went with that colour challenge of black copper cherry cobbler, early espresso and gold foil, and we created this watercolour card. And then this one we've just used those papers, including that image that we can die cut, to make a relatively quick and simple St. Nicholas card. So 2 cards that are using the stamps and dies and the St. Nicholas bundle, and also bringing in those gorgeous St. Nicholas papers, the traditions of St. Nick papers that are available on the online exclusives. So I hope you have enjoyed those. Do leave comments if you're watching on catch up. It'd be lovely to know what you think about these and if this is um, a bundle that you've got on your wish list. But I will be back again with you later in the week. So in the meantime, have a good week.